Welcome back to Liberating the Peacemaker Within course. I'll start with asking you, Faith, what do you see here? No trick question here.
The first word that came to mind was isolation.
Okay.
What are you basing that on?
The circle is alone.
Okay, that's a very good response and unusual. That's a whole brain response. Almost all people in the class see a white circle.
Oh,
When
I
first-
got a little too deep.
No, that's great. You're seeing what's actually there. Our left brain tends to just see the thing and not the background, which the background is much, much larger, and it's actually, in this course, more important, but our left brain tends to see just the thing and not the background. We started with a circle representing the Eastern symbol of the wheel, and noted that the importance is to be at true center, otherwise life becomes suffering in the Hindu tradition. We added spokes, but just four, to indicate in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the concept of sin is being off the mark. So again, with both Eastern and Western traditions, the importance of being at true center. And in the Ocean of Consciousness graphic, we are looking for true center. We'll use that idea. Now, for this metaphor to be workable, I can't use the whole circle. So I'm going to take just one quadrant. But now I'm going to turn it right side up. And I'm going to add two waves on the ocean of consciousness that we can work with. So what we have is this, and this is our ocean of consciousness metaphor, representing things as they ought to be. This is the surface of our life world, and this is a depth level. And our center is in the depths of the ocean of consciousness, not up on the surface. If things are the way they ought to be, say this is heaven, heavenly state, nirvana in the East, we are at our true center. When we look at the life world on the surface from this depth perspective, we see the dynamics of the universe in play, yin and yang in the Chinese. Yin is the feminine, yang is the masculine. Think of it as energy, like electricity. You have a negative and positive, always, everywhere in an electrical circuit. It's what gives you the power, the energy, making it useful. So when things are right, yin and yang are in harmony. Yin is primary, comes first, and it's also a broader part of the universe. It's in all traditions considered feminine. We'll get back to why. Yang is secondary because, as we'll see, the feminine gives birth to the world of things, which are masculine. Now, in the ancient Hebrew, the symbol for feminine kind of sums it up beautifully. First of all, this is the symbol for yin. This is the symbol for yang in the ancient Hebrew. How do you tell them apart? The yin is the concave. Notice how the inline of the feminine determines the outline of the masculine. So it's the same symbol, but for yang, you read the convex. They go together. They're mutually arising, and when things are the way they ought to be, all is sacred. What does that term mean? In touch with the source, open to the source, connected to the source of all, the one source of all, the creative source. From true center, we see the connectedness of all. Now, yin would include things like no, left, low, night, darkness, black, death, chaos, no thingness, the background that we looked at before. The right would be what we call the opposite, but again, they're totally connected, all is sacred. And we did the two worldviews before. We had the realm of science, which is the smaller circle, seeking truths, lowercase, and the larger circle, truths, uppercase, capital T, and I'm trying to indicate that this depth dimension in the ocean of consciousness metaphor is the larger circle. It includes all of this, which is now the surface elements of the universe, that which you can measure, that you can see, that you can work with. This is the depth dimension, the unseen. Now remember, this dimension is the broader yin, the background. It includes everything that the yang world deals with, transcends it because it includes and offers a deeper dimension, which is all important. It gives the meaning, and it's actually the source of all that we see in the universe. Now this, remember, is the way things ought to be, and they were before we came into the picture. You had a world of abundance based on, we now know, cooperation and evolution, an evolution based on natural selection of the fittest, those fitting in best with the rest of life. So not just existence, thrival of the fittest in a cooperative universe. what's gone wrong? What's the problem? If we go to the garden story in the ancient Hebrew, I like that one because Eastern sages like the Zen Buddhist D.T. Suzuki felt it was the best of all the creation stories. You have in the garden, for those who probably know, the tree of life, and the roots of the tree of life, a universal symbol throughout all traditions, is grounded at the center of creation. The fruit of this tree in the garden story is separated from the tree of life. Think of that as the day, which you may remember or may not, early in childhood, when for the first time you felt anxiety, perhaps fear, when you discovered all of a sudden, in a flash perhaps, that you were separate. You were a separate entity. You never felt this before. You were in the garden until this happened. You saw things from here. Everything worked together. You were just good with the whole thing. The whole creation was good. The fruit is separated. We're already out of the garden right now. We've put a barrier up. Now, you've got the fruit in your hand. You may as well take a bite of the apple. It's the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. Now that I'm separate, I've got some anxiety. So if we go back to paradise here for a moment, let's look at the yang side. Yes. When I say yes, everybody says I'm a good girl or boy. I like yes. Right is cool. High, they tell me take the high road. That's fine. Day, I'm okay with day. It's night that scares me. Light reminds me of day. I'm good with that. It's darkness that scares me. White, also kind of bright. It's black that scares me at times because it reminds me of darkness and night. Life, well, people say it's life against death, and so they're trying to, scare me about this death thing, and it sounds kind of dark, so that scares me too. And when I get cranky, I get into trouble with chaos. So I like things to be kind of ordered so I know where I fit. And I'm good with things. I can handle them. This no-thingness, it's too much like chaos. So if I've gotten to the point, now let me go back for a moment. As Shakespeare reminded us, nothing there is in the life world which is good or bad, but our thinking makes it so. Okay, so these go together, hand in glove. There's no problem. But once I'm separated from the source, that's blocked off to me. And what goes with separation, the anxiety of separation, is what makes me feel okay, what gets me back to feeling okay and not so anxious. And what am I likely to call bad? So we just went down the list. And it looks like everything associated with yin is problematic, I tend to cleave to the yang, to the masculine side. Now, as we'll see, that's what brings evil into the world, because we are decidedly off-center when we go through this transition. We are seeing everything skewed. And remember, when you're off-center, everything is off-center. Your seeing is off-center. Your thinking is off-center. So your feelings are off-center. Everything. Your best intentions are off-centered. So it's going to be a bumpy ride from here.